All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury. Children, in full review, I had told you the story overall. Fine. Now, let me read out the text and explain you the story, and also let me give the meanings wherever necessary. Follow the text properly. Hold your textbooks in your hand with a pencil and write down the meanings wherever necessary, followed by some explanation wherever you need. Fine? Ready, ready, now soon. Do the scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? Look, look, see for yourself. The children pressed to each other like so many roses, so many weeds, intermixed, peering out for a look at the hidden sun. Teacher announced that, be ready, children. In some time, the sun will bloom. Sun will rise after 7 years. Okay. So children started to discuss, do really scientists know that sun will bloom today? How can they say so accurately? So again teacher said, look at yourself. So children who were like small roses, weeds, who were together intermixed, means they were sitting close to each other, they got ready to witness the sun which was hidden for 7 years. It rained. It had been raining for 7 years. Thousands upon thousands of days compounded and filled from one end to the other with rain, with the drum and gush of water, with the sweet crystal fall of showers and a concussion of storms, so heavy that there were tidal waves come over the islands. 1,000 forests had been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. And this was the way life was forever on the planet Venus. And this was the schoolroom of children of the rocket men and women who had come to a raining world to set up a civilization and live out their lives. Fine, children. Here in this paragraph you can see that there is one brief explanation about the planet Venus, where it is raining continuously from 7 years, and this is one classroom where children of that people who have come from earth to see that a civilization can be made there and we can live in planet Venus also. They had come in rocket to make a life on the planet, and these are the children who were studying in that school. And now that planet Venus, forests had been crushed for many times, and again they grow many times to get crushed again in the rain. In this kind of surroundings and environment, these children were in the school and studying in the school. Now it was time to witness the sun. It's stopping, it's stopping. Yes, yes. A child was there whose name was Margot. It suddenly shouted, it's stopping, because that fine day when sun was about to rise for 2 hours, that day rain should cease, and now rain was ceasing. So this child noticed, who was waiting more than anyone. I will tell you why in further paragraphs. That girl shouted that now rain is stopping. Margot stood apart from them. Note this sentence. Please underline this sentence. Margot stood apart from them. This girl never mixed with other children. This girl was different from others. We'll tell you the reason. From these children who could ever remember a time when there wasn't rain and rain and rain. These children never remembered when there was no rain on this planet. They were all 9 years old. All these children were of one age group where they belonged to 9 years group. And if there had been a day 7 years ago when the sun came out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world, they could not recall. See, 7 years before, sun had come. It showed its face only for 1 hour. And this all children were 2 years age old. And these children naturally did not remember anything about that sun or its warmth or its sunshine. Sometimes at night, she heard them stir in remembrance, and she knew they were dreaming and remembering gold or a yellow crayon or a coin large enough to buy the world with. She knew they thought they remembered a warmness like a blushing in the face, in the body, in the arms, legs, and trembling hands. But then they always awoke to tattling drum, the endless shaking down of clear bed necklaces upon the roof. The walk, the gardens, the forests, and the dreams were gone. All day yesterday they had read in class about the sun, about how a lemon it was, how like a lemon it was, and how hot. And they had written small stories or essays or poems about it. I think the sun is a flower that blooms for just 1 hour. That was the poem. That was Margot's poem, read in a quiet voice in the still classroom while the rain was falling outside. Yes, children, let me explain you this part, then we will proceed. Fine. Margot stood apart because she belonged to a group where children never remembered anything about the sun. Even if they remember it as one small crayon ball which is drawn on a paper like yellow or orange, and only a small warmthness which is really not memorable for them, which they experienced 7 years ago. Yeah, they all got a class about sun one day before, and whole night that's all children were remembering about sun, what teacher had explained, and teacher asked to write a small story or poem, and this Margot wrote something about that sun. Okay. Nobody remembered anything. They only remembered as one small necklace, that is a round bead or a small picture on the crayon, nothing. Only they blushed when they thought about that warmth which they had experienced 7 years ago. Now, the day had come for the sun. Margot started reading about the sun, what she had written. Okay. She wrote very beautifully there, which she read in a quiet voice. And that voice was very quiet, to tell very sober and very smooth. I think the sun is a flower that blooms for just 1 hour. Really, that girl's poem was very beautiful. And some children started protesting, especially boys. Oh, you didn't write that, protested one of the boys. I did, said Margot. I did. William, said the teacher. There was a small conversation between William and boys over there with this Margot telling that she did not write that poem. But that was yesterday. Now the rain was slackening and children were crushed in the great thick windows. These all situations happened yesterday in the class, but today now rain was slackening. Slackening means loosening, reducing. There was very heavy rain for all these years. Now the rain was reducing. This became the reason because children rushed, means crushed near the thick windows. Where is teacher? She'll be back. Should better hurry. We'll miss it. Now children started discussing about teacher, where she is. One child said that she will come back now. Okay. And then some children expressed that they'll miss the sun if teacher is late to take them outside. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel. All tumbling spokes, Margot stood alone. Okay. Now all children were excited and they all were just turning around and they were around the classroom, but Margot stood alone. She sat alone. She was a frail girl. She was a feeble or dull girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years. This girl was quite very dull and she was quite very alone, because when someone looked at her, they felt that this girl had lost herself in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and yellow from her hair. She was an old, photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and in she spoke at all her voice would be ghost, would be a ghost. Now she stood separate, staring at the rain and the loud wet world beyond the huge glass. Fine. This girl's explanation is given quite very well. This girl was quite a very bright girl with blue eyes, good yellow hairs, and pink face. But 4 years after getting drained in this rain, she had lost her blue from her eyes, yellow from her hairs, and pink from her skin. Almost pale, dull, and frail girl now the remaining girl was. And her voice was quite very like a ghost voice, means not heard for many years. Suddenly she was speaking. Nobody liked her. She was also looking all out the glass with a wish to witness the rain. What are you looking at? Said William. William, who was frustrated and irritated by her yesterday with her poem, who never believed that she wrote that poem today. Also, he got irritated because this girl's eyes were quite very curious outside to witness the sun. William got irritated and questioned, "What are you looking?" Margot said nothing. She was quiet. "Speak when you are spoken to." He asked her to reply, but she did not. She was quite very cool and she was quite very irritated. She was quite very pale and frail. She never replied anything to this fellow. He gave her a show. He pushed her. Show means he pushed her. But she did not move. She stood very strongly there. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. She was quite very firm that day. She was very strong that day because she wanted to see the sun. She did not want to miss the beautiful scene which she wanted to witness every minute from all these years. They edged away from her. They pushed her. They would not look at her. They moved out when she did not responded these children. She felt them go away. She wanted these children to go away from her. And this was because she would play no games with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. Actually, children did not like this girl because whenever they came in the tunnel when reaching the classroom, every time it was raining in Venus, so there were tunnels for these children to move to the school. They shouted, they played games in the echoing tunnels. But this girl never ever mingled with these children. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking after them and did not follow. Many times they were tagging her with many different quotations and like many things they were doing with her, but she never responded. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips barely moved. Even in class, when all children were singing the songs about life, happiness, etc., she never sang with them. Only her lips moved barely, means rarely she was moving her lips. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move as she watched the drenched windows. And then, of course, see children, here, only when they sang the songs of sun, her lips were moving. That too, she was looking at the drenched strong windows. Other than that, she was never mingling with them. And then, of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth. Problem was, she came here 5 years ago and she spent her 4 years on Earth in the sun. Okay, in the sunshine with the warmth of the sun. She had spent her 4 years, 2 years more than these children. And she remembered that. And she remembered the sun, and the sun was, and she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth, and she remembered the sun and the way the sun was. And the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. Yeah, she remembered the sun and the sky with the sun and the warmth of the sun when she was on Earth for 4 years and when she was of 4 years in Ohio. It is located in United States. And then They had been on Venus all their lives. These children, remaining children, have spent their life on Venus for all their lives. They had been only 2 years old when last the sun came out, and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it and the way it really was. But Margot remembered. See, problem was here. This girl spent 4 long years in sunshine, but these children were born and brought up on this Venus. They only witnessed only the sun for 2 hours. In that also, they believed that the sun raised only for 1 hour. This was the whole problem. Margot knew how the sun looks like. Margot remembers the warmth. Margot can feel the warmth of the sun, but these children can only imagine the warmth or the picture of the sun. In next class or in next slide, again I'll be explaining you further.